Welcome everybody to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili and I am ranking the Black Sabbath Ozzy era albums. Now before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, yes, I have ranked studio albums from Led Zeppelin to Dio, and that one was pretty interesting. I had a lot of interesting comments for my ranking of those albums, and this may be as unpredictable as that one as well. So let's just get into this right now. I'm going to start off with these 9 albums. The first one being 13. This was the one that came out in 2013 without Bill Ward. It had, the other 3 guys, Ozzy, of course, Geezer Butler, and Tony Iommi, produced by none other than Rick Rubin. Now, 13, there was originally 13 tracks. That's why this album's called 13. They ended up having some extra songs released on some CDs for like the special editions and whatnot. But on this album there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs. It's sort of like an original early 70s Black Sabbath album, and I think that's what Rick Rubin was trying to do here, recruiting Brad Wilk on the drums. Now I just felt like this album lacked any kind of originality. It was just trying to force feed Sabbath listeners on nostalgia and not really bringing Sabbath to where they could be, and of course without the swing drum style of Bill Ward. I mean, I think it really lacked really hard. I mean, they even at the end of the album on Dear Father put the beginning of the first album with the bell tolling and everything like that, with the storm and whatnot from the beginning of the song Black Sabbath. There's some okay songs on here, but like I said, it wasn't something that after listening to it, it just seemed it was just running on nostalgia too much. So that's 13. Next, we have the last album of the original lineup after they broke up in 1978. This is Never Say Die. I do like the album cover. I thought it was very unique. Again, by Hypnosis, the same people who did Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, that album cover. And this album, Ozzy broke up during the middle of this and he came back. There were some issues here. They were all on drugs and alcohol. And people say that this album is very disjointed and there's just some odd directions going on. And, like jazz, like Breakout, which is an instrumental piece, which is like 2 minutes and it has a horn section. And, I do like some songs like Never Say Die, Johnny Blade, and the bass line on Junior's Eyes, which is really cool. Some of these songs at first were written by Dave Walker, and when they kicked Ozzy out, and then Ozzy returned and he didn't want to sing those songs that he wrote, and so they kind of changed some, like Junior's Eyes, which at the time Ozzy's dad had passed, and so he kind of changed the words to that to fit the occasion and what was going on. But Never Say Die is my 8th choice. Okay, so going on to number 7, Sabotage. Now, there are some great riffs on here. I do like Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, of course, and the last song on here, The Writ, was really cool. Sabotage is, it's not one of Ozzy's favorites. This is a reissue. I do like this series, and they have like a little stories, to anecdotes of what was going on during this time. And yes, this is a time when, they were pretty much, a lot of them on cocaine and everything, but they still managed to put out some great material. It was just to me it was just like, it was a decent album. Sabotage. Now, here's one album I think that, most people will go, well, what the hell is that doing here so early on? And I think it's just the fact that it's just been overplayed for me too much. And I'm going to have to say Paranoid. Okay, so War Pigs, Paranoid, and Iron Man, of course. Not that they're not great songs, they are great songs. I think this is the album, of course, where they were kind of getting out of that kind of whole bluesy thing, which the first album had, like songs such as Warning, where this is just their signature sound. But yes, it was played a lot, but there are some good stuff like Electric Funeral and Fairies Wear Boots is had to be my favorites on here. And of course, the Pantera song that they covered from this album was Planet Caravan, which is pretty much spot on, pretty much a great homage to them. I saw that tour when they got played together again, and when the reunion came up in '99 and Pantera opened up, and that was with Black Sabbath. So Paranoid makes it onto my number 6. Okay, so number 5, Technical Ecstasy. Okay, so this is the time when Tony Iommi just kind of took over, and they fired their management, and he was the one who was just gonna try to steer the band to a different direction. He wanted to get rid of all this kind of Sabbath, the old sound, and just be a new band and reborn and everything, and adding keyboards and kinds of things like that. Rick Wakeman's on the album, and Bill Ward sings "It's All Right." Backstreet Kids, "You Won't Change Me." This is a really great album. I just really got more into it when I got the Super Deluxe Edition, and just even the remix of the album, and just listening to it, and reading all the material, the liner notes about this album, and it was just it was quite the album. I felt like it was one of their best, and so yes, I put it up there at number 5. Now number 4, we're going to the very beginning, the first album, Black Sabbath, and yeah, this is the one that started it all. There's a lot of bluesy things that go on here, like the song "The Wizard" with the harmonica that Ozzy's doing on this album. The basically and the bass line that that Geezer comes up with first of all from the wah wah little solo, and then into NIB, which is really great. I love the jazzy part of Wicked World, and just the heaviness of that song from beginning to end. Of course, this album is the creme of le creme of Black Sabbath with Ozzy, and they spelled his name wrong, Ossie. How could you screw that up? You had one job. Okay, so that's number 4. Now we're going to number 3, and Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. This is the riff that saved Black Sabbath, as Tony said, because they were going through a lot of writer's block at this time, and that was the riff that he came up with, and the whole Sabbath train kept rolling all over again, and there was some great stuff on here. I love National Acrobat. Some more instrumental music on here, Fluff, which is really great. I love the album cover, how the front and the back is utilized to tell a story. And of course, the inside. So, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Now we're going to my number 2. And this, people think, I know a lot of people, this is like their favorite album, but yes, it was a hard choice, but this didn't make it to number 1, but it almost did. But it was Master of Reality. This is probably their third album, and it's sort of like, to me, kind of like an end of a chapter as far as the trilogy goes of the first 3 albums. They finally mix the first 2 albums more so of they still add more new kinds of directions in here with the acoustic music in here, which is really cool. Solitude, Orchid, you know, but then they have the classics of Sweet Leaf, the beginning of Tony Iommi Coughing, and After Forever, which has a great riff. This whole album rocks. I mean, it's just, you know, the first three of this ranking was just going to be, you know, to me, the strongest Sabbath albums, and this no doubt is. This was originally a poster in the original album, and it felt like parchment paper. I remember having that, and now they just kind of put it inside the gatefold. So that's Sabbath Master Reality, which brings us to number one, and my number one choice, of course, is Volume 4. Not only the presentation of the album, how it looks, but the cover and the font they use is really bold. Volume 4 and Ozzy's in the front. This is the time where, you know, so the after doing that trilogy, they're still kind of being experimental, but they're being very heavy at the same time and doing new things like Supernaut is awesome, Wheels of Confusion, Tomorrow's Dream, and of course Under the Sun is an awesome album closer. And then you have things like Changes, which is just a piano piece. It's kind of haunting, dark kind of music, kind of melancholy, and it's just, yes, this is to me the Sabbath, the pinnacle of greatness, where they're still, they've mastered the heavy sound, but then they're still pushing and going forward. And Volume 4 is a great album. That's my number one choice for the Black Sabbath ranking. And of course, I'm just going to just throw this in here that they did put out a great compilation of music that, you know, chronicalizes the first album all the way to just Sabotage. It doesn't have anything from Technical Ecstasy or Never Say Die. You know, they put the first song is Black Sabbath, and then the last song on side 4 is NIB, so it kind of goes full circle. And this here was a really interesting picture in the gatefold, and this is a green vinyl of their new Warner Records reissue. So just had to throw that in there if you want to just get something that encompasses all these albums, not all of them, but just the first 6. Then Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath is for you, or We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. And so that is my video for this ranking. What are your thoughts? You know, leave me a comment below. You know, my picks were, you know, I'm sure some would say like they're you know, a travesty, or maybe some of you may agree. So these are just my picks. They're not, you know, they're just me personally, the ones that I like the most, the Sabbath. They're all great albums, of course. Not really on 13, but everything else with Billboard, you know, they have some great moments and they have some okay moments on the later stuff, but, you know, still, it's a great body of work all in all. And with that, I'll shut up and I'll see you guys on the next video.